If you guys haven't seen, Bungie dropped an article of the inside of what Arc 3.0 is going to look like when it comes to major changes for next season. We have a lot to cover, so let's just dive right into it. I'm just going to read straight off the article here. Again, if you want to look at this, just go to bungie.net. It'll be like one of the first news style articles. In any event, obviously with Arc 3.0, we're going to be getting a set of buffs and debuffs that are going to come with the new subclasses, but one of the new buffs is going to be called Amplified, which is a key to the Arc 3.0 experience. An Amplified Guardian is faster both in terms of movement speed and in terms of weapon handling, and more agile, able to perform long slides that can function as a devastating setup for some of the attacks that follow. Unlike other damage type buffs like Void Invisibility or Solar's Radiant, players don't need to equip any specific aspects or fragments to become amplified. By default, all Arc subclasses become amplified after rapidly defeating targets with any arc damage, and equip aspects and fragments offer additional ways to become or benefit from being amplified. That sounds overpowered already. And after sprinting for a few seconds, an Amplified Guardian will gain another boost of speed and gain a sizable PvE resistance buff in enabling an even longer slide. Even if a player is no longer amplified, as long as they keep sprinting, the speed booster buff will stay active. On the debuff side, Arc 3.0 is getting two new things, Blind and Jolt. Blinded opponents in PvE won't be able to see and will be disoriented and unable to fire their weapon, again just like blinds normally work in PvE. In PvP, blinded opponents will have their screen whited out and their HUD removed for a short period of time alongside a distorted, washed out audio effect. Jolted opponents who are damaged will periodically send slivers of chain lightning out to nearby enemies, damaging them in the process. Well, I guess both. And also, Arc 3.0 is going to give every class ionic traces, which pretty much what they did for Military Warlock was when you picked them up, you gained energy for all your abilities. So first, let's talk about the major changes to Hunters. So to that end, the Hunter's Arc Staff is going to be returning, obviously. Again, you'll be able to block and deflect projectiles with the press of a button, as well perform an armored dodge, where upon dodging, the Hunter will gain more resistance and incoming damage. So pretty much Arc Staff is going to function similar to what it normally does. But since every other subclass already has two supers, they're bringing another super in for the Hunter. And this one is going to be interesting. It's called Gathering Storm. Here, the Hunter leaps into the air, hurling their staff into the ground or into an unlucky enemy like a spear. Again, you're kind of like launching the staff, I suppose. Upon impact, the staff emits a damaging burst that jolts nearby enemies. Soon after, a giant bolt of lightning strikes the staff and overcharges it, creating a large damage zone around it for several seconds. While overcharged, the staff sends out arcs of lightning to damage any enemies that move near. So it sounds like it's going to be it's going to be obviously something that's a one-hit AoE thing that's going to last a long time. On the melee side of things, they are keeping combination blow. Again, pretty much you get a melee kill, you gain dodge ability. If you have Gambler's Dodge on, you dodge near an enemy, you get your melee back, so you can have this continuous ramp up of melee damage, and you also have the disorienting blow coming back as well. Now, the three aspects for Hunters are going to be Flow State. Defeating a jolted opponent causes you to become amplified. When amplified, the Hunter's dodge will recharge faster and make you more resistant to damage, and you have quicker reload times. Next is Tempest Strike. Again, this is a variant of the melee, but allows the Hunter to perform a sliding melee that launches an arc wave along the ground, dealing significant damage and jolting enemies in the path. And then lastly, you have Lethal Current. After dodging, the Hunter's melee lunge range is increased, and their next melee attack jolts the target and creates a damaging lightning aftershock. When used with the Arc Staff super after dodging, the Hunter's next staff light hit hits twice. In addition, hitting a jolted enemy with a melee attack will blind them. So Lethal Current is gonna it sounds like it's gonna be pretty good for something like PvE and probably PvP as well. And lastly, I think all of us D1 veterans have been waiting for this one. In Arc 3.0, Blink is coming back for Arc Hunters. I am so happy about this. Like, now that they talked about the super, I am kind of getting nostalgic about Blade Dancer as well, being able to like pop the blades and be able to blink with it. Oh, so disgusting. I'm excited for him to have blink. This is going to be interesting. Next, let's dive into Warlocks. So again, our two supers we're going to have is Chaos Reach, which again is the Kamehameha pretty much, and then Storm Trance. Storm Trance is gaining the landfall behavior from the previous bottom tier arc, which is the shockwave that comes out when you launch a super, and then Ionic Blink, which is from top tree, allowing the Warlock to teleport briefly during super. That is going to be great because currently I was testing out stuff with the bottom tree one with landfall, and whenever I'm in the super and PvP, I'm like, I cannot blink. The enemy can pretty much see me just floating right at them. So now Warlocks, we will be keeping our 2 melees, the ball lightning and chain lightning. The only difference is that now if you're amplified, the arc ball will fly out and zap enemies 3 times instead of just the normal 1 time. And for chain lightning, it chains to more targets. More specifically, while normal chain lightning creates a single set of chains that bounce between the number of targets, when amplified, the ability creates 2 sets of chains and can potentially jump to twice the number of targets. The 3 aspects we're going to be getting for Warlock is, number 1, Arc Soul. The Warlock casts a rift to create an Arc Soul that will assist the player in battle. Allies who pass through the rift will also earn an Arc Soul. The rift charges faster when allies are near. When amplified, any Arc Soul that you have or gain is supercharged, increasing its rate of fire. Next, Lightning Surge. The Warlock activates their melee while sliding to transform into a ball of lightning and teleport forward, calling down a field of lightning bolts at the exit point that jolts targets. That sounds so neat. Next, we have Electrostatic Mine. Arc ability kills and kills with arc debuffed enemies create ionic traces. When you collect any ionic trace, you become amplified. Now lastly, we have Titans. So super wise, obviously they're going to be getting Fist of Havoc and Thunder Crash. The only major thing that's happening with Fist of Havoc is now it has an adjusted slam radius that's halfway between the top and the bottom path, and the ground slam leaves a damaging field in its wake, while slamming from the air causes a damaging AoE effect. Now this is really cool. One of the biggest changes coming to the Arc Titan is the new Thruster class ability. By double tapping a button while on the ground, the Titan bursts in their throttle direction at speed, performing a quick first person evade comparable in distance to a hunter's dodge. And quote, Arc is the damage type that is about mobility, so if we're going to add mobility boost anywhere for Titans, it was going to be here. This is so great too, because obviously a lot of people were talking about Twilight Garrison coming back and all that drama on Twitter and all that, so this sounds like it's going to be pretty similar to something like Twilight Garrison, so I'm happy that Titans are going to be able to live out that fantasy again. It sounds like it's going to be a little different, but I'm definitely excited for this. There is a new melee coming in called Thunderclap. Here the Titan player holds the melee button and charges up arc energy that can be unleashed in either a quick powerful jab or held and built up to be unleashed in a furious One Punch Man style blast that will devastate an opponent. The charge state cannot be stored and the Titan must be on the ground to charge the punch. The damage is significant, a 90% charged Thunderclap with one-shot Guardians in PvP, but that reward will be balanced by the time it will take to build up the charge level and the fact that you must remain stationary to charge, always a dangerous move in PvP. This is going to be interesting, but I think people will be able to find a way around it, especially with barricades and if you play with your team correctly. Now the 3 aspects Titans are getting is, number 1, Touch of Thunder improves arc grenades by the following ways. This is similar to Touch of Flame with the Warlock, but this is going to be for Titans and on Arc. Flashbang fires an additional blind impulse on its first bounce. The Pulse Grenade, when the grenade damages an enemy, it creates an ionic trace for the Titan. Pulse Grenade damage increases over time as the grenade lingers after impact. A Lightning Grenade grants an additional charge for Lightning Grenade and jolts targets on initial blast. That is fantastic, and I love Lightning Grenades, and so does Freak. But next, Storm Grenade creates a roaming thundercloud that moves and tracks targets similar to the Stasis Hunter's Silence and Squall, firing lightning bolts at the ground underneath it. That's going to be absolutely nuts. The second aspect is going to be Juggernaut. This is an old D1 classic that's coming back. While sprinting with full class ability energy, the Titan gains a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When amplified, the shield is stronger. Once the shield is depleted by taking damage, the player's class energy is depleted. That is good that it's based on class energy, because in D1 you could pretty much have it up all the time. And then lastly, Knockout. We've had this obviously currently. Melee kills will trigger health regeneration and make the Titan amplified. Critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shield increases melee range and damage for a brief period. Titan's base melee becomes arc empowered while Knockout is active. They also gave us an insight on some of the fragments that are coming. So number 1, Spark of Beacons. When a player is amplified, Arc special weapons will create a blinding explosion. That's going to be interesting. Spark of Resistance. When surrounded by enemies, the player has increased damage resistance. Okay. Spark of Momentum. Sliding over ammo will reload your weapon and grant a small amount of melee energy. Sliding over heavy ammo increases the amount of energy granted. So it sounds like Inertia Override just got added to every class, just no damage bonus. And then Spark of Shock. The player's arc grenades jolt enemies, so it basically adds on that debuff. In any event, guys, that's all I wanted to cover. I'm obviously very excited for next week, and obviously the showcase is going to be happening before the new season drops. I'm going to actually be streaming that here on the YouTube channel. It's ItsDaveTVGaming. Yes, we're moving over from Twitch to YouTube, if you didn't hear. I know for myself and my community, we're very excited for the changes that are coming, and I hope to catch you guys here. But in any event, if you like what you saw, you can always drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another one of these videos. And also join my Discord. That link is in the description. Obviously, we have people talking about Destiny 2. People are going to be teaming up for the new activities and whatnot. But on top of that, we also talk about anime, PC tech, mindset, and a bunch of other games and topics as well. In any event, hope to catch you in the next video.